Welcome. Today I will be paraphrasing, summarizing, and sharing for the October 28th readings of Courage to Change and a Little Time for Myself. We'll begin with the Serenity Prayer and 3 mindful breaths. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Begin with a little time for myself. Take a minute to look it over. The question of the day is, how do shame and fear prevent me from recognizing where I have responsibility and authority? The reading is 2 paragraphs, and it talks about shame and fear in relationships. Feeling shame for giving up on relationships and fear because we fear for the person's well-being that we're in a relationship with. And then the second paragraph talks about when this person talked to their sponsor about it, they realized that their sponsor was correct when their sponsor said that amends needed to be made to themselves for holding on to the shame, and then to the person they were in the relationship with, because the person was pretending that they were that person's higher power. So it talks about how we don't have authority, or we can't control what other people do. The only thing we can do is acknowledge our powerlessness over people, places, and things, and focus on ourselves, which is what today's reminder talks about. To stop pretending that we're the higher power and to focus on the only person that we can change, ourselves. And that too much responsibility, this is the quote from Discovering Choices, Recovery and Relationships. Paraphrased, it says that feeling too much responsibility is acting like a martyr, and feeling like we have no responsibility is in denial. Interesting. I never thought of it that way before, but that makes perfect sense. So back to the question of the day. How does shame and fear prevent me from recognizing where I have responsibility and authority? I guess when shame and fear are the prevailing feelings, like when I feel shame about something, it may keep me from doing something that really is my responsibility, maybe. And fear, definitely. Fear can definitely be very paralyzing. Something just fell on the floor, excuse me. Shame and fear. The opposite. I always think of the opposite of shame and fear are humility and faith. And faith is under the umbrella of love for me. So I think when I feel shame or fear, I have to try to somehow get myself back to humility and love, faith. How about you? How do shame and fear prevent you from recognizing where you have responsibility and authority? It's a great book. Courage to Change, October 28th. I'm going to take a minute to look it over. Yeah. Great reading. This is about basically the golden rule, treating others the way we want to be treated. How it's the actual reading is 3 paragraphs. It's all pretty much describing that what we give tends to come back to us. What we see in others, we also see in ourselves, whether positive or negative. And it's really suggesting that that our world feels safer. This is my favorite part. The whole world feels better, happier, safer when we accept things. Today's reminder is about learning from the interactions that we have with others. And the quote is from Ralph Waldo Emerson, talking about we look for beauty outside of ourselves, but in order to see it, we must have it within us first. It's beautiful. And I find this to be 100% true that, well, the way I was thinking it is that when I'm feeling negative, I see negative everywhere. And when I'm feeling positive, I see positive everywhere. So I am much more aware than I ever have been before of my own thoughts and the impact my thoughts have on the way I see everything in my world. So I work consistently to manage my thought patterns so that I can see the beauty and see the good and see the positive and see the love and focus on that. And when different things happen that are seemingly less than positive, I take each thing individually and try to decide if it had anything to do with me. A lot of the time it doesn't. And if it does, what can I do differently? And how can I make amends so that I can be free of it and move forward in a positive direction? We'll close out with the serenity prayer and 3 mindful breaths. Here we go. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. A perfect example that I forgot to mention before I closed out was that a friend and I met at a thrift shop, not the one I volunteer at, a different one, and we just spent some time and we were ready to leave pretty early. So I said, would you like to grab a cup of coffee? Because me and this friend, our husbands have been really excellent close friends since they were 12. And so we do a lot of things, the 4 of us. And it was just the 2 of us. And we don't get a ton of time, just the 2 of us. So I said, oh, I know this cute little coffee shop. She hadn't been there yet. It's rather new in town. And I said, I'll drive us there. So we drove up and it was closed, which was really weird. So I said, well, I know another really cute coffee shop. And she said, oh, I've heard of it, but I've never been there. So I said, okay, this will be great. And we drove up to that one, and that one was closed, and it should have been open. Like the hours posted, it should have been open. So I said, well, what do you think? We'll go to this other place that we know we both love. We've been there several times. It's wonderful. So we went to that place, and we ended up getting coffee, and by this time it was lunchtime, so we got lunch, and we got it to go. And we ended up going to the beach and having a picnic on the beach because it is an amazingly warm, sunny, beautiful day. And to me, this is kind of a good example of like not getting upset that the coffee places were closed. We just marched on and we ended up like that's what was supposed to happen. We were supposed to have lunch on the beach with our delicious coffees. I don't know. Just thought that was really cool and it blended well with the readings today. So, thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Sending you love. Take care.